All right, we got 1 minute left. 1 minute, 1 minute. Tag a friend, tag a foe, but guess what? We about to go. All right, all right, all right, all right. I am super excited to be here this afternoon and want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the Dori On Purpose Show podcast. I'm telling you right now, some exciting things are going on this month. Let me see who we got in the room today before I jump into this conversation. I see Keisha Trout. Let me tell y'all something. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. That is my sister from another mister. I'm telling you, when I need her, I had to set an alarm, child. When I need her, she is right there, Johnny on the spot. Keisha, if I haven't told you lately, I love you, sister, and you're always there. I appreciate you more than you could possibly know. And good afternoon to my good sister, Miss Kimberly Rogers. How are you this afternoon? And I know there are people joining us on Instagram. There are people joining us on YouTube, and we are coming to you live via Streamyard, okay? I love Streamyard. I love Streamyard because it allows me to be in one place, but to be in 3 different places at one time. And then I can repurpose this material as many times as I want. So I thank you and I welcome you to the Dori On Purpose Show. Let me tell you something. I want to get right into the show today because it's only a half-hour format. And y'all know my cat, right? She's going to have to stay for the whole show because she was cool, y'all, until I started the show. She was cool until she heard me say, welcome, welcome, welcome. And now all of a sudden she's at the door. She wants to get out. Let me tell you something. She's here for the long haul today because she's not getting out of here. So let's get right into this conversation today and every day. Say today and every day. Somebody type every day in the chat. Every day we are going to be honoring the female entrepreneur. Let me tell you something, honey. I know a lot of them. And it was really, really hard for me. Hold on, I'm going to put her out of here. And I swear on everything I love. Get out. Get out. Come on, out. Out. I swear, guys, it was hard. So much so that I want to make a disclaimer. I want to make a disclaimer right now that if you have not received an invitation to join me this month, and you are a female entrepreneur, and you feel compelled to tell your story, I'm going to ask you to reach out to me because we do have a few spots left. Boy, we got a lineup for you this month already because when it's time to honor the female entrepreneur, it's not just about being an entrepreneur, but being a female entrepreneur is something super, super special. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a girl. I'm saying that because we wear so many hats, guys. And many of us are mothers and daughters and caretakers and sisters and aunties. And I'm telling you, we do a lot and we make it look really, really easy. So what I want to do today, I want to just get into this conversation. Can we get into this conversation? Because I entitled this series, HERstory. And all week long, I kept telling you guys on Saturday, on International Women's Day, as a matter of fact, happy International Women's Day to all of the women's there, all the women out there. Happy International Women's Day to all of my Instagram followers. Happy Women's Day to all of my YouTube followers. I salute you today and every day, okay? We know that you wear many hats. We know that we got to be cool, calm, and sexy all at the same time. We know how we got to bring home the bacon. We got to fry it up in the pan. And then we can never, ever, ever let him forget he's a man. Come on now. Y'all remember that commercial? That was one of my favorites. I can bring home the bacon. Come on, fry it up in the pan. And never, ever, ever let you forget you're a man. Now, that's a woman, baby. That's a woman. We can do all that and still be at the top of our game in business. So I entitled this series, HERstory, because when you see these powerful female entrepreneurs out on the streets, I don't want you to ever think that it comes easy. Behind all that glory, there's always a story. Somebody put behind all that glory, it's always a phenomenal story. And all week long, I kept saying to you guys, wait till you see our first guest. Wait till you see our first guest. Wait till you see our first guest. Somebody say self love is the best love. See, because I knew all week long that I had to be the first guest. So I want to introduce you to your host and your guest for the day. That's right. Your girl is her own guest on her show today. Can you say hello? Because somebody say hello. No, she didn't. Because yes, she did. I am your guest today because guess what? Behind my glory is one heck of a story. I'm telling you, for those of you who know me, some of this will be a little bit redundant. I'm going to share some pictures with you guys so I can take you down memory lane. I'm going to share some stories with you guys. I'm going to share some things with you guys that some of you may or may not know. But let's start at the beginning, okay? And for those of you who are just getting to know me for the first time, my name is Dori Ray. I am the girl from the hood. Now, I have since changed this line. I want to give you the history of this line. I am the first to say I am the girl from the good hood who just wants to do good. I remember Keisha reminded me this morning, we were with another company almost 20 years back. And they always used to say, Dori hood, Dori so hood. And one day I said, yeah, but I'm the girl from the hood who's going to do good. Or I just trying to do good, whatever I say. But since I've grown in life, and in business, I understand more clearly the power of my words. Somebody say words have power. Words have power. And because I understand the power of my words, I have changed that statement. If somebody could do me a favor and type this in the chat, I am a girl from the hood who's destined to do good. I am destined to do good. It is in my destiny. It is in my DNA. I have overcome so many things. If you look and listen, let me just say something. Let me say this, and I want to be real clear. Today I'm talking about me, not from a narcissistic standpoint, not from a look at me standpoint, but because I have a story. And as my girl Tony Simmons always says, she's one of my frat brothers from Howard University. She always says, we must tell our stories. So I want you to be very comfortable sharing your story. Get comfortable promoting yourself. Get comfortable talking about yourself, because guess what? It was never for you in the first place. It was never for you. Whatever you've gone through, whatever you've gotten through, whatever you've come through, whatever you've overcome, whatever you understood or understood, or however we say it these days, it was never for you in the first place. It was for the sister or even the brother behind you who's going to learn from your story. Are we okay with that? So today I'm going to tell my story, some in the first party, some in the third party. Y'all know I like talking about your girl from the hood who's destined to do good, because guess what? If you don't promote yourself, who will, baby? Who's going to promote you if you don't promote yourself? So let's go back to the beginning, okay? And we only have 30 minutes, and I'm trying to stay. I'm good. It's 3:07, so we got 30 minutes. I'm gonna give you some of my new friends. It's gonna be some new game for you. Some of my old friends, y'all know this story all too well, and I actually wrote a book about it. For those of you, let me just run this banner down the bottom. For those of you who want to read some of the early parts of my story, and I mean early, baby, because your girl done got some things together since then. You can go to my link tree. Is www.linktree/Dori on purpose. You can get from that link tree. You can access my Amazon, and that's where you'll find a copy of my book that I wrote in 2018 called A Girl Named Chosen. And I'm going to give you some history behind that name as well. Okay, so let's get into this conversation. So your girl is from the hood. My kids get so upset with me when I say that. They say, mommy, how you say you from the hood? You had a good old mommy and a good old daddy, and you grew up in West Oak Lane, and y'all even had an intercom in your house because nobody wanted to scream from the top floor to the bottom floor. But that was my hood. But see, I found a way, even in that Brady Bunch so-called family, to find my inner hood rat. Because somebody say, I found my inner hood rat, and I liked her. I liked her. I liked that side of me. I liked who I was. Not initially, but I grew to like her. Can we say I grew to like her? Okay, if we tell them the real story. And by the way, this broadcast today is brought to you by the Purpose Academy, which is a subsidiary of Dori on Purpose engagements, as is the Dori on Purpose show. So we'll get into that a little later. So I grew up in West Oak Lane with wonderful parents. I had an amazing, amazing, amazing mother. I could not have asked for a better mother. My mother was extraordinary. There was not a bump or bruise that I encountered that my mother was not there to catch me. My mother was all the way, she was in the school, she was in the community. There was nothing that I needed that my mother didn't provide. She was just phenomenal. Unfortunately, I lost my mother at a very early age. I was young. I was 38 years old. I thought I had a picture of my mother in here, but obviously it didn't take, but that's okay. I lost my mother to cancer at when she had just turned 60 years old. Okay. And she was phenomenal. And she's always remembered as her phenomenal self. And I hope every day that I make her proud. And all of you know, old Dickie Ray, Dickie Ray, Dickie Ray. I had an amazing father. Now, here's what y'all don't know about my father. My father wasn't very emotionally available as a child. He was a great provider. Anybody had a father who was a great provider, but he just wasn't the kiki side. And just thankfully, my mother compensated for what he did not bring to the table on that emotional lovey-dovey side. So I was really, really blessed because I had a father who was responsible, who understood the importance of paying the bills, understood the importance of making sure we got a good education, making sure that, all of our needs were met. We didn't have to work. I never had to even think about whether the electricity was going to be on or off. I had all that growing up, but I had a mother who made sure that every day was fun. Every time we got a chance to have another adventure, we had another adventure. My mother used to, I remember vividly my mother, dancing with us in the dining room before we got our dining room furniture. Certain things, she taught us songs that we've been able to pass on to our children. It's just been phenomenal knowing that I had a mother like that. And then I had a father who compensated because he was a great provider. He was a great provider, and he made sure that my brother, my sister, and myself wanted for nothing. So I came out of this beautiful home in West Oak Lane, and I was a girl who attended public schools and here in Philadelphia. And if you could see this picture I put up here, and you could probably identify me in the picture. If you can identify me, I put this picture up several times. Hey, Tony Simmons, hold on, y'all. Hey, Tony Simmons. Tony, I just referenced you and I sent you some information. I'm sorry, y'all. Sometimes you got to go off track. I sent you some information, Tony. I need you here to tell your story. I don't care. I will work around your schedule, sister. This is the sister who I just referenced, y'all. Said, my sister, Tony, who is also my brother, said, you must, we must tell our stories. Tony, I love you deeply. You know that. So let's get back into this story. So here I was in the third grade. I'm the little girl right here in the middle. If you go down the middle and you see the little girl with the little afro with the two green bows on her head, that was me, baby. And if somebody says something, I want to meet you outside, because my mother was a beautiful woman, and she knew that her daughter was a little pepperhead, as they called us back in the day. They called us pepperheads, okay? I was a pepperhead. My hair didn't grow like my sister Tracy. My sister Tracy had long ponytails that bobbed and weaved, and I had a little afro, so my mother would compensate by putting little bows on the side of my hair so that people would stop calling me a boy. And then it just so happened that my family name was Bob, so I was a girl named Bob with no hair. So you can imagine what I went through as a child, having no hair, people walking around calling me Bob. So if any of you see me and I'm doing some crazy stuff with my hair, it's because I got issues, baby. I got issues. I'm still working through it, okay? And I had a sister who had ponytails. I'm talking about same mama, same daddy, but the ponytails was just bobbing, okay? So anyway, this teacher right here, I want to make this point. If you look up at the top, there's a beautiful African-American woman sitting right up at the top with a beautiful dress on. Her name was Mrs. Strickland. People, if you're a school teacher out there, I want to tell you something. I want to salute you, because we as teachers, because I've been a school teacher, we are one of the people who influence a person's life. And Mrs. Strickland noticed something special about me at an early age. And Mrs. Strickland reached out to my parents, and she told my parents, this girl is special. Hey, Dixie, this girl is special, and she should not be in the neighborhood schools. Whatever you need to do, you need to get her out of these neighborhood schools and get her into the school that she deserves to be in, called Masterman. So at a young age, I was transferred to the school for academically gifted children. I got there in the fourth grade. I remember getting lost on the subway. I wouldn't dare think about putting children on the subway. My mom threw me on the subway when I was 9 years old with a book in my hand saying, if you get to this stop, you've gone too far. I can remember vividly going one stop past where I was supposed to go and losing my mind, calling my mother with the little dime. I guess I'm telling my age. I put my dime in the phone booth and said, Mom, I'm at Race Vine and I was supposed to be at Spring Garden. And if anybody knows Philadelphia, I was one stop too far. And baby, I lost it. And my mother directed me back to the school. But I went on to love that school. I went on to be the president of the school in 9th grade. That's when I first started to realize my leadership skills. I said, okay, I always wanted to be in charge. My brother said it's a problem. I always wanted to be in charge. I like being in charge, but I also knew the responsibility came with it. So I ran for president of the school in 9th grade and I became president of school. I left there in the 9th grade, graduated, went on to graduate from the Philadelphia High School for Girls. Now, the funny thing is, between junior high school and high school, I put a little picture here so y'all can see how fly my father was when at my junior high school graduation. He always had to show off. So this is my girlfriend, Angel. God rest her soul. We just lost her last year. And my sister, Tracy. And by this time, my mother had discovered the perms. And that's your boy, Dickie, right there. That's your boy, Richard Ray, with all the chest hair showing and the fly suit. Anybody who was wearing an orange suit back then had to think they was a muckety muck. But this was my 9th grade graduation where every 5 minutes they were calling my name. Every 5 minutes they were calling my name. I think in from an academic standpoint, that's the last time I heard my name called. Let me explain to you. Late in my junior high year, and definitely throughout my whole high school year, that's when I discovered boys, and I liked them. And I discovered drugs, and I liked it. I grew up with a hippie type mom. I smoked a lot. Somebody say a lot of marijuana. Okay, this is my story. Can I tell my story? Keisha, Tony, can I tell my story the way I want? Because if not, we can just shut this thing down. I actually dulled my senses. I smoked so much marijuana. There was not a day that went by that I wasn't smoking. Okay, because that was the thing we did. I graduated from high school in 1982, and by the grace of God, I'm telling you, by the very when my parents came to my high school graduation, my mother made sure to take note that my name was not called not one time. And I wanted to tell her, Mom, you lucky I graduated. The amount of weed I smoked over those past several years, I'm just happy to be here. Okay, by the grace of God, not because I was making plans, not because I had any kind of direction. I was a first generation college student. So my parents were two young kids from North Philadelphia who was just in love and they wanted the best for their family. My father, because he was so responsible, both of them came from very poor households. It can affect you one way or another. You can either come from a poor household and be poor, or come from a poor household and say, I will never be poor. That's the way my father, that's the position he took. And my mother just got lucky. She got a man who decided he wanted to be poor. I don't even want to think about what our life would be like if we had to grow up with just Joycey. She was just a happy-go-lucky. She would spend all the money, just like Keisha. I ain't telling all my business. So anyway, so I get there. I graduate from Girls High, and I wind up at the Mecca. Now, don't ask me how. I'll tell you why, but don't ask me how. I applied to 2 colleges because I wasn't that interested, but I knew I had to go to college because I was smart. I just wasn't applying myself. So I applied to Penn State and I applied to Howard University. And my father said, you're not going to Howard University, because the only reason I applied because my cousin Pee Wee had went down there and she had the best weed in town. And I knew she was in the Army. And I said, if I could just get the Pee Wee, the party continues. Well, baby, I got accepted to Howard University. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. I didn't even know I had applied to the Mecca. I had no idea I was going to a school that was that prestigious. I just wanted to go to DC because Pee Wee had got stationed at Walter Reed. Well, baby, 6 months after I got there, Pee Wee got transferred to Germany and I was going to lose my mind. All I wanted to do was come home. But this was another pivotal point, and I thank God for my father for this. My mother, being the person that she was, said, pack it up, baby, and come home. And I was ready packing. My father said, unpack your bags. You beg to go to that school. You beg to go to DC. And I don't care what you have to do. You better make it work. My sister tells a story about how they would take turns not picking up the phone, and how they literally would draw lottery sticks to see who had to talk to me on that particular day, because I cried for the next 7 months, until one day I walked into the classroom and I met this girl. Oh man, I thought I had her picture here. I did. A lot of my pictures are not loading because I got so many pictures. Well, I met this female and everything changed. You know, when you meet your bestie, everything changes. And I had a picture of my, oh, here she is. This is us. Tony, I hope you're still here because only you can relate to this. I walked into Founders Hall on the campus of Howard University, and I met my forever best friend, Kathy Lynn Johnson, who is now the godmother to my two daughters, Corey and Aaliyah. And we met freshman year at Howard University. And as they say, the rest is her story, some which can be told and some which definitely cannot. All I know is that God provided me with another family in DC, and I was able to get there, make it work. And baby, all of a sudden, I did not want to go home. Very soon, we added a third person. Very shortly after, we had a third person to our crew, which was Miss Twyla Buckmine, and you're going to be hearing from her tomorrow. And I promise you, anything that, Tony, you already know. I wish I had a picture of Phaedra, because we had a fourth person we added to our crew, and I'll bring it to you. I don't have the picture here. And then we added Phaedra. As a matter of fact, Tony, you'll be happy to hear this. We're about to take a girls' trip, the four of us, because all of us, with the exception of Twyla, are frat brothers, but we're all bestie friends, and we're all in our 60s now, and we believe that now is the time to spend as much time with the people you love, because the world is just crazy and you just want to be around people that you love. So let's continue with this story. We're going to get into Howard University because I want to get to my entrepreneurial story, but I think the backstory is important, guys. I think it's important that you know I just didn't drop here. I was destined to do good. I was destined to go to Howard University. I was destined to meet Kathy Johnson. I was destined to meet Tony Simmons Henson. I was destined to graduate from Howard with a Bachelor of Business Administration in marketing. I went there as an insurance major and decided that was too much for me. I needed something more fun. And that's how I ran into marketing. But let me just explain something to you. And I tell you all this often when I speak to you all. I graduated from junior high school, and my name was called, every other name was mine. Dori Ray, this award, Dori Ray, that award. Girls High, you never heard my name. The Howard University graduation was so large, you know I didn't do anything, because if I did drugs in high school, I'm gonna let y'all figure the rest out, okay? But here's the deal. I did not graduate magna cum laude. I see your children and I'm so excited for them. They graduated magna cum laude, yay! I did not graduate summa cum laude. Not your girl. Your girl graduated, thank you, Lordy, because baby, I didn't think I was going to make it out of there. While I was there, I was in the School of Business. My girl Tony can tell you, we were serious business students. We learned so much. I didn't even realize how they were preparing us for the world, but they did. And we formed bonds that were lasting. I had a chance to pledge Delta Sigma Pi business fraternity, where my sisters are my brothers and my brothers are my brothers. I pledged Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, coming up this year on my 39th Delta anniversary. And this for all my sorors out there. Happy Sisterhood Month. I'm telling you, these were exciting times. As a matter of fact, March 15th marks my 39th year as a Delta and my 41st year as a member of Delta Sigma Pi. Okay, so I want to get to this internet, to this business story. So I came out of Howard University with a job offer. Yes, I did. Most people don't even know that. When at Howard University, they made it so that recruiters came to our school and they would recruit us for different positions. And I landed a job with Kraft Foods. I was so excited. It was $40,000. Now, this is 1986. $40,000 offer was a good offer. And the mistake they made, because I graduated in the off season, I graduated in December. They said, go home for a month, and then we're going to fly you out to your job. Now, why they send your girl back to Philly? Bad move. And another bad move they made was they flew me out to Tri-City, Tennessee, where the job was going to take place. And there was no plane that went into Tri-City, Tennessee. So they had to put me on a hopper. And I was like, ain't no way your girl from the hood is going to live in a place where planes don't even land. I knew coming back. I didn't know how I was going to tell my parents, but I know I was trying to prepare myself for my father losing his mind, but I knew that I wasn't going. So 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave, I had the serious conversation with my parents. And I said, listen, I know y'all spent a lot of money on that education, and the goal was to come out and get a job. But mom, dad, I'm not going. My father said, oh, yes, the hell you are. And now I'm 21. I said, oh, no, the hell I'm not, dad. I'm not going. You made me stay at Howard University. Thank God that worked out. My mother said, she don't have to go where she don't want to go. That time, my mother and I teamed up and we won. And see, sometimes I think, what would my life have been like had I taken that job and followed through? But you know what? That ain't how it went. So that wasn't my story. My story is my father gave me 2 weeks to get a job. He said, you got 2 weeks to get a job. If you gonna live, he was, girl, if fire could come out of his nose, fire would have came out of his nose. He was so angry at me for turning down that opportunity. But God, somebody said God knew there was another plan for his girl. God had other plans for me. God had need of me somewhere else. So I'm going to speed up this story. I come out. I have all kinds of jobs. My first real job was with a company called Inroads, okay? If anybody's from Philadelphia or they were in several cities, that was a good job. I mean, that was a job where I was in service. I was serving young people. I was helping them find their way in corporate America. I was showing them how to get internships. And baby, I was the girl in Inroads. I helped so many young people find their way. They didn't even know that I didn't even know where I was going. All I knew was that I knew how to direct people and I knew how to run this mouth. And I knew how to make relationships. See, this is what I think made me a great entrepreneur. I know how to form relationships. I know how to talk to people. I was just good at working the room, baby. I was good at working the room. I was good at work. Somebody say she know how to work a room. I knew how to work a room and I knew how to talk to people. I learned that from my mother. I had a little teeny bit of discipline from my father, but my mother was so savvy. She knew how to work a room and I would study her. And I knew how to work a room. That has been one of my biggest assets. I understand and I think and I care about people and I know how to work a room. I think that's one of the things that makes me good at what I do. And I'm not saying work a room like in a slick way. I know how to read a room. That's what I think is one of the makings of a good entrepreneur, a person who knows how to read the room. I was good at that. So I went on at Inroads and then I got pregnant with my first baby. My father always laughs, y'all. It's funny. He says, something missing in this story. Where is the wedding? I don't know that. God, no, I don't know. I don't know why I've never been married. I'm a single mom with 2 kids. All I know is that they're beautiful and that God blessed me with them. And I found this picture. I showed up at one of my girlfriend's house one day for this, Sharon Rose, if she ever sees this. I went to Sharon's house for a party one day. One of my girlfriends I work with at Inroads. And I walked in and these 2 ladies were there. And I was flabbergasted. Guess why, y'all? Because the lady in the orange delivered Aaliyah. That was my OBGYN when Aaliyah was born. And the lady in the green delivered Corey. No. Yeah, Corey. And the one in the green, she was 9 months pregnant. And you know, if anybody knows me, you know I'm not real good. I'm not real good with pain. And Tracy had talked me into not getting a epidural, and I wore that lady out when she delivered Corey. So now I'm a single mom with 2 beautiful daughters. Corey is 33, Aaliyah is 29. They have been my wife for many, 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 many years, and I love them dearly. The only picture I could find of them together, and they're going to kill me if they ever see this because this is so old. I could find another one, but I just didn't have time. This was them with their Uncle Roy when we moved to California. And that's a whole nother story I'm going to tell you because I got 10 more minutes and then I'm out of here. We're not going to keep you. You're going to be 45-minute show today because guess what? It's my show. Okay, anyway. So anyway, let me fast forward and get to the entrepreneur part. So when I got pregnant with Corey, I was working in nonprofit and I needed more money. Somebody say more money. And so one of the parents of our alumni association called and I said, see, Destiny, I just happened to be working late one night and the phone rang and I was the only one there. I was the only one there. And he said, hi, so-and-so told me to call because I am looking for it was a lady. She said, so-and-so called me to call. It was a gentleman who told her to call. Her name was Marcia, I believe. I can't remember her name, a Black woman. in pharmaceutical sales. And she said, I'm looking for somebody to fill a position in pharmaceutical sales. I didn't even know what that was, but I knew that if they showed me how to do it, I could do it. And she said the job pays at that time. I think she said 60,000 plus a company car. And I was saying, send me the information. I'll definitely find one of our alum. Child, I tucked that thing in my bag. I said, it's gonna be me. And somebody say work a room. I called that lady back. I said, listen, I'd like to apply for that job myself. The rest is history. I spent the next 12, maybe 15 years as a pharmaceutical sales rep. I worked for some of the largest pharmaceutical companies. I worked for Bristol Myers Squibb. I worked for Roche. I worked for Smith Kline back then. I mean, the list goes on. I kind of got a little foggy in that area because I loved it in the beginning, but something happened to me along the way. Two things happened that changed my life, and this is how I really got introduced to the entrepreneurial world. One thing that happened is that I encountered my first bout with depression. Can we talk? I was going along my way in pharmaceutical sales. I was good at it because I did what? I knew how to work a room and I knew how to work a doctor, baby. I knew how to talk to a doctor to make him prescribe my drugs so that I could get the market share that I needed to be number one. I was number one or close to number one every single year in my territory. One year I won a trip to Hawaii. You know, I won a lot of things. I was in pharmaceuticals in the days where we would take doctors out to lavish dinners and we would take them out to sporting events. And my daughters never missed any Disney shows because I had tickets to everything because I was entertaining doctors. I was making it do what it do. So they write them scripts. I tell you one quick funny story in pharmaceuticals, and I'm gonna get on to this depression. I had this doctor. His name was Dr. Woloshin. He was a psychiatrist in the Logan area, and he was. You know how some psychiatrists, he was a psychiatrist that needed a psychiatrist. So I had tickets to a hockey game. Now, we are not typically seen the hockey game. It's not really a African American sport. So I'm in there. I'm one of maybe 5 in the whole stadium down at, like where the Eagles and the Sixers play, right? So this man used to carry this brown briefcase everywhere he went. And I said, can I buy you something to drink or eat before we go to our seats? He said, yes, I like a Coke. So I got a Coke for him and a Coke for me. And he sat that briefcase, when we sat in our chairs, he sat that briefcase on his lap. And he put the sodas on there for what I saw it coming. And he moved, and the 2 sodas fell down the backs of these 2 rambunctious Caucasian men who stood up and called us every B and dummy and this. I said, I don't know about you, but I'm out of here. And I left that doctor right there. And I left. They weren't going to beat me up. Okay. So back to, that's just a little side story. So, but I'm working. And all of a sudden I'm not happy anymore. I'm making money. I'm driving a company car. I had purchased a house. I was doing good. I was really the girl from the hood who had done good. I'm telling you, I was the hood model. I was the one who's everybody's mama wanted somebody to come talk to me because I was the gold standard in my hood. She graduated from Girls High. She graduated from Howard University. She drives a company car. The girl even go to church. I mean, this was the girl that you need to follow. I was the role model. Except for the fact I had a couple babies out of wedlock. We always doing that back then. And then one day I found myself sleepy all the time. I found myself wanting to take breaks in parking lots. And it was just getting crazy. I was sad. I was crying all the time. I didn't know what was going on. Ultimately, I had started selling this product called Serzone. It was an antidepressant. And I started to read the diagnosis. And I said, I think this is what I got. And I went to the doctor and I left there with a prescription for Prozac. Baby, I spent the next 20 years. And if you know me, I was there. I spent the next 20 years cycling in and out of some of the worst depression that you can ever imagine. Your girl has been 302 twice. And if you don't know what 302 is, I don't know if they still do it. That's when your family, your friends, everyone who loved you is at the point where they say, I don't know what to do for her. We need to get her medical attention, and it will be against her will if she don't want to go. And I've been escorted twice. Keisha was there twice to mental hospitals because the depression was that bad. But thank God my depression was cyclical. So I would go up, and then I'll go way down. Up, way down. They tried to diagnose me with bipolar, but I never accepted that. So I never accepted it. So I never was on a bipolar medication. But if you name an antidepressant, I promise you I've been on it. It's sometime over that 20-year span. But thanks be to God, during one of the up times, my cousin Pam and Verna came to me. I was working for a pharmaceutical company. I was in my brand new house, and they said, "Are you open to taking a look at a business opportunity?" I said, "Hell yeah." I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. Even though I was making all that money, Peter and Paul were in my living room every night, baby, because I was living beyond my means. My girls ain't had one pair of Uggs. They had two pair of Uggs. They had one Barbie. They had two Barbies because I was playing keeping up with the Joneses when nobody kids gonna be better dressed than mine. When nobody house gonna be flyer than mine. I was dressing. They was dressing. And the money, I was like, daggone right, I need an opportunity. You hear me? And so they took me to a meeting, and I walked in this meeting. It was an Amway meeting. Who remembers Amway? And the people didn't look like me. There was a whole room full of Caucasian people, few black people in there, but they were speaking a language that I did not recognize. Here I was, a graduate of the Philadelphia High School for Girls, a graduate of Howard University School of Business. I had worked several years in Inroads. I had worked 5 years for Inroads, almost 15 years. I wasn't at my 15th year, maybe my 10th year with pharmaceutical sales, and I had never heard anything about what they were talking in the room. That's the first time I heard the terms passive and residual income. And I was like, dang, I like this. You mean to tell me I could do something one time and get paid for it over and over again? And all I got to do is go teach other people how to do it, and then I could get paid off their efforts? I was all in, baby. When I tell you I was all in, somebody type all in. I fell in love with this industry. You couldn't tell me that within the next year or so, I wasn't going to be a documented millionaire. I was a believer, baby, and I still am, because this industry is amazing, and so many people have changed their lives. And even if it wasn't monetarily, they've met their best friends, they've met their husbands, they've made enough money to stay out of foreclosure. A lot of things have happened in this industry that are just phenomenal. Okay. But I loved it. I loved that whole idea of being in business for myself, but not by myself, being able to build a team of people, and all of us together can make something huge happen. I was down with it like four flats, baby. And I ultimately left Amway because I was sick of doing the home presentations. And one day, this is another real funny story. I think we're gonna go for maybe 45. Okay. One day, my sister was living with me. We were living together in my house on Mohica Street. And she said, I met this lady named Valencia Pomfil, and I want to invite her to the house because she is going to do a presentation and show us something about something and something. At that time, I remember vividly, I was a Girl Scout cookie mom. I had stopped doing network marketing because I was not making the money I thought. I had left Amway, and it was getting on my nerves, and I was back to working full time. I said, Trace, you can bring anybody you want here. Just please, whatever you do, don't ask me to join nothing. When she come, I'm going upstairs. And I remember the day Valencia walked in my house, and it was her and her two girlfriends, and they were all dressed with these collared shirts on, looking all sharp. And I was like, and I walked up the steps. And I was so arrogant. I said, Tracy, before they leave, make sure they buy some Girl Scout cookies. And I walked up the steps to my room like, who are you? But I'm nosy, because somebody said she nosy. Like, I come from a long line of nosy women. We nosy. There's no way they was going to be downstairs in my living room talking about something and I not know about it. I had to hear, so I scooted to the top of the steps. Somebody say scoot to the top of the steps. I scooted to the top of the steps, and baby, by the time they finished that presentation, I was sitting in the living room saying, where do I sign up? Because once again, I had heard something about passive and residual income, but this time it sounded just a little bit better. And I met my mentor, the lady in the black dress. Her name is Valencia Pomfil. That's your girl right there. That's one of my hair colors I had over the years. And then we had just opened the office. We had started this team called the Mad Team. Baby, we was going to take over the world. Somebody say, take over the world. And for the next 9 years, I rolled with the Mad Team. Wherever they rolled, I rolled, and I made some good money. I became a six-figure earner. I became a leader in the industry. I learned everything you see today. I learned from the Mad Team. I learned the professional side of network marketing. I learned how to introduce people. I learned how to do presentations. Baby, if you're a part of the Mad Team, I need you to put Mad Team in the chat. Baby, everything that I learned from this team. But then something happened. Let me just explain something. Let me back up a little bit. Throughout my tenure with the Mad Team, I think I went through at least 3 or 4 bouts of depression, and something very significant happened during that time. I decided that, along with my family members, during one of my bouts of depression, that I was going to move to the West Coast because I believed that I needed to change the scenery. Only one person was honest with me during that whole transition, and it was my good friend Bishop R.T. Jones. He said, when you get to California, you won't be there. And at the time, it kind of went over my head. He like, why are you running from your problems? I said, ain't nobody running from their problems. I'm just going to get some sunshine. I knew what I was doing. I just needed to change the pace. And I went out to California, and the young lady who called me to come stay with her and was going to help me, she and I got into, I don't even know how it happened, but we started not seeing eye to eye. Me and Aaliyah went out there because Corey was at that time, Corey was already at Cheney University. And she said, Mommy, I'm going to stay in Paye with Aunt Tracy, and I'm going to finish my degree. And Leah didn't have a choice. Poor baby. I homeschooled her through her 11th grade year. This is part of my journey, y'all. I homeschooled her in California. Now imagine this. Your depressed mom taking you across the country. You live in Philly, your depressed mom taking you to California to a lady's house who didn't treat us nice. Me and my daughter slept in bunk beds. She slept on the top, I slept on the bottom. We had so many rules in that house that we couldn't keep up with them, till finally one day, one of my Mad Team partners said, y'all come stay with us. And we went to stay with Uncle Roy. That's why, if anybody know Roy, y'all make sure y'all tag Roy. We went to stay with Uncle Roy and Aunt Martha. And for the first time since we were in California, I saw a smile on my daughter's face. Because when I tell you, they treated us like gold. We had our own room. We practically had our own bathroom. You would think we were invited guests. They treated us like gold. Those are my people, Roy and Martha. When we were in California, and we didn't stay long, but we stayed long enough for God to show me what compassion looks like, for God to show me what hospitality looks like, for God to show me what love looks like. I didn't even know these people hardly. I'm getting choked up. I hardly even knew them. And they knew my daughter and I were miserable where we were staying. We were 3,000 plus miles away from our home. And I promise you, baby, they took care of us. And my daughter just said, Mom, I want to go home though. I don't want to be in California. And I didn't have any money. I went to California with a food stamp card. Somebody better hear me. I was on public assistance by then. I wasn't working. I had just lost another home. I'm skipping around. There's so much to the story. I might have to do a part 2. And I said to my daughter, we're going home I think I said in a week or 3 days. Here's my hand to God. We went to California on borrowed money. My mentor, Valencia Pomfo, bought me and Leah a round-trip plane ticket. I mean, a one-way plane ticket, because our intention was to live there, and bought my daughter, Corey, a round-trip ticket. She gave me a laptop, and she said, go get yourself together. And that was my intention, to stay there. But I knew once I got there, I had to come back home. But let me tell you something. When it was time to come home, God showed off. Because I was in Roy's house and Leah was up in the room, even though they made her so happy. I mean, they did. And we used to go to the flea market, and we went to shows, and we went to church with them, and we just had a ball with Roy and Martha. But my daughter wanted to go home. Keisha says, you remember when I left? Remember I came right back 3 months later. One day, I'm sitting up in the bedroom, and I was telling, that's why you got to speak those things which are not as though they were, as though they are. I kept telling my daughter, I don't know how I was going to do it. And she didn't know. She knew I didn't have any money, but I had a food stamp card, baby. We ate. And I kept telling my daughter, we're going home. We're going home. We're going home. She kept saying, okay, Mommy, I just want to see my sister. Corey came out to visit us. That's when Corey came out to visit us on a ticket that that Valencia bought for her. While I was out there, I started my blog, Brand New Every Morning. Some of you might remember that. When God spoke to me out in California, and he said to me, he said, I need you to write. I need you to share this story. At that time, I was really hiding the fact that I was so miserable. Only my good friends knew that I went out to California. Some of my friends thought I went out there to start a business. Only my good friends knew I was having a whole nervous breakdown, and they were supporting me as much as they possibly could. And I went out there and I started my blog. My blog hit 16,000 people across every continent. And it's so funny, when the depression lifted, I couldn't even write the blog anymore. It was for a purpose and it was for a season. But baby, when it was time to come home, and I'm bringing this thing home, when it was time to come home, I think I'm gonna do a part two, because I don't want it to be too long. Can I get your permission to do a part two? Just like I'm getting ready to write a part two of my book. I just need somebody to put part two, because I want to let y'all go, because I need y'all to bring some people back for part two after they watch part one. Somebody put part two in the chat if y'all want part two, because I'm gonna end it right here with this story. We came home, and then I'm gonna tell y'all the rest on part two. So anyway, I'm sitting in Roy's house. Leah's laying back in the room that he made so comfortable for us with all right, all I need is one person. Keisha said part two. We had our own TV, we had everything. And I got a phone call from my cousin Jeff. Now, mind you, nobody hardly knew I was in California. And those who did know, Keisha and a few of my friends knew that I went out there to have a nervous breakdown. But a lot of people thought I was out there to start a business, because I was a businesswoman. I was known for with the role I played in network marketing. I was a leader. I was known in my circle, right? One of my friend Brandon, Missouri, I never forget. Keisha, Brandon said, "I wasn't asking no questions. I thought you was going to jail, and they ain't want nobody to know." That's how secret it was. I said, "Ain't nobody go to jail." But anyway, my cousin Jeff called, and he said, "Bob," because my family calls me Bob. Remember, I told y'all I was a girl named Bob. He said, "Bob." I said, "What's up, Jeff?" He said, "I need some noni juice. Can I stop by the house and get some?" I said, "Jeff, I don't live there no more. I live in California." He said, "What you mean you live in California?" I said, "Jeff, me and Lily moved out to California." What's up, Prudy? That's my co-pastor. What's up, girlfriend? I said, "We moved out here a couple months ago, but I really want to come home. I just don't have the money." He said, "What you mean you want to come home? You don't have the money?" I said, "I want to come home, but I don't have no money." He said, "Take my credit card and buy you and your daughter a ticket back home." He said, "Take my credit card and buy you and Aaliyah a ticket and come home." Baby, I couldn't get to Aaliyah fast enough. I flew up them steps. I said, "We going home." He bought us 2 tickets from California back to Pennsylvania, because he called to see where I was, because he wanted some noni juice. Somebody better say, "God did." Come on, y'all. Somebody say it for me. Say, "God did." I mess with you, Prudy. Let me tell you something. I went to Roy. I said, "Roy, we going home," because Roy was rooting for us. He wanted us to go where we wanted to go, not because he wanted us out of the house, because he was helping me find my own place. The whole nine. We were making moves. We were about to start a mad team, Los Angeles. We were making moves by that time, because I was feeling better, right? God did. God did. And guess what else God did? He showed me in his own way that I left with nothing, but I was coming back to something. We got to the airport. And as I close, I want to thank all of you for joining me. We will do a part two. I'll let you know. I'll put it in the thing. We got to the airport, and I heard them saying, "Anyone on flight, whatever, please report to the desk, because the flight is overbooked." Now, your girl had traveled enough where I knew that meant what? Free ticket. I was like, "Ooh, free ticket," because I was planning to go back. As a matter of fact, I don't even know where all the clothes that me and Leah took to California. I know they're not still there, because that was so many years ago, but we came back with the clothes on our back. We left everything there. I came back to Philadelphia with the clothes on my back and a little knapsack of clothes. We left a storage unit full of our things that we never went back to get. Never. Oh, Lord. She said she remembered Bob Lee. She go way back. I went up to the counter, you guys, and I said to the lady, "I have 2 tickets on this flight." She said, "Would you like to give up your seat, and we'll give you a round trip ticket that's good for a year?" I said, "Yes, we'll do that, because we're not in a rush. We're just going home." Gave up my tickets. While she's doing the sign, she said, "Oh my God, look at this. There are 2 first-class seats to Philadelphia, And you're going to get there even sooner. Here you are, young ladies, 2 first-class seats. Now, I got to back up a little bit. Y'all ain't excited enough for me. Somebody should be putting some hearts in the chat. Somebody should be putting some fire in the chat. The lady said there are 2 first class. I said first class. I went home first class. I went there on borrowed dollars. I went home first class. Okay. Now, mind you, when I got to the airport, I didn't even have any money. Roy said I got $20 in my pocket and he gave me 10. When we got inside the airport, Aaliyah was acting a little snotty that day. She was sick of me by that time. And she said, "Hey, Nikki!" Nikki here, y'all. Aaliyah said, "Mommy, I want something to eat." I said, "Leah, I only have $10, but let's go to McDonald's." Y'all know how much airport food costs. And I spent $6 on some airport fries because I had to feed her. And I took my little $4 and put it in my pocket. All dignified, going home with my $4 and my bag of clothes. And that lady upgraded us to first class. And we got in that plane and we got dinner. Now we're flying from Los Angeles, California, back to Philadelphia. Nice long flight. We sitting in the best seats on the plane. And God spoke to me. He said, "I'm taking you back first class. Life is about to change for you because I'm taking you back first class." So that's part 1, y'all. How many of y'all enjoyed part 1? Can the girl tell a story? I'm living this thing all over again with y'all. Now, my link tree is running across the bottom there. If you want to read this story, you can download it at Amazon. If you want the ebook, it's A Girl Named Chosen is the name of my book. But if you go straight to my link tree, you'll see it right there on my link tree. You can order that, or you can actually order the physical book and have it in your hand. I done read it like 4 times. It's a good book. Thank you, Tony. Oh, thank you. That's my girl. Let me tell y'all something. Part 2 is something else. And I ain't even tell y'all about that. I might tell y'all about the men's in part 2 because there was a lot of them. Because what y'all gonna realize if you read my book is part of my problem, and the way that I dealt with my low self-esteem and my depression was I let the wrong men love me all the time. And that was one of the things that held me back in business, but it also made me the woman I am today, because it will never happen again. But maybe I'll tell y'all about that in part 2. But I'm going to come back and tell y'all how when I finally left the MAD team, I had a so-called disagreement with my mentor. And for 5 years, I was separated from my mentor. And I went out and I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't understand why the lady who taught me everything I knew, all of a sudden I couldn't work with her because I felt something was off, right? But that was God. God knew that I needed to go out on my own and get from under her wing for a minute. And guess who we're having dinner tonight? Because we're back right where we started, and she's still my mentor, still one of my closest friends. But we had 5 years of separation for me to find out who I was in business, and I learned so many things about myself in those 5 years. I'm gonna tell y'all all about that. I'm gonna tell y'all how I how I had to step away from business many more times because of depression, and then ultimately, y'all remember I had to step away because I had to take care of my father, who had always taken care of me, and for 5 years I was a caretaker. That was my main job. And I wasn't concerned about money because my father took care of me while I took care of him. He took care of the finances. I took care of him. So I wasn't pressed for no money. But when he died, I had to get back out there and get to it. When I came back, I'm going to tell y'all about how I got into the digital space and what's going on with me now. But for now, I'm going to leave y'all there. And thank you so much for joining me today on the Dori on Purpose show. I'm going to ask you to come back. We got so many amazing ladies who are lined up, so many stories. And again, there are so many women out there who I want to interview. Many of you have not gotten back to me yet, but if you see this and I didn't send you an invitation, it charged to my head and not to my heart, please feel free to reach out to me, because I want to hear, like my girl Tony Simmons Henson says, we must tell our stories. There's a young woman out there who thinks that she's not able. There's a young woman out there who thinks that she's not capable, who thinks that her mistakes are her demise. I need y'all to get out here and tell these stories and tell these women that they are resilient. Tell them they can overcome anything, even depression. They can overcome promiscuity. They can overcome single parenthood. They can overcome foreclosure. They can overcome depression. They can overcome all of that, just like Dori did. They could raise 2 women by themselves. They can fail in business and get back up. They can fail again and get back up. They can fail again and get back up, just like Dori did. That's why you got to tell your story, because somebody behind you needs to hear it, because they're going through the exact same thing that you're going through. So peace and love. I will see y'all for part 2, but come back Monday. On Monday, you're going to hear from my girl, and I'm going to show you right here, my girl, Twyla Buckman. This is her in the middle. She is the owner of Tea-tastic Designs, and she has one heck of a story. So with that being said, peace and love. I will see y'all when I see y'all. I love y'all dearly. I mean, you just have no idea how much I love y'all. I'm a love child, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace and love.